Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm giving my first impressions of Pandora's Rune. Pandora's Rune is one of several expansions, part of the Pandora's Box set of expansions over on GameFound, a set of expansions for the Hoplite Machus Victorum line from Chipper Theory Games. Everything you see here is a prototype, rules, components, and all that stuff subject to change, and of course the usual disclaimer that I do work for GameFound. Again, this is from Chipper Theory Games, just being crowdfunded over on GameFound. Now, this is very much a first impressions. I received this game, I received all the components you see here, a day before the campaign started over on GameFound, which means I don't have or didn't have that much time to actually go ahead and dive into it that much, or at least not to the extent I normally would like to. But I did have specific things, I did have specific objectives and things I wanted to get out of it, aspects of it that I wanted to try, and to that end, I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts on what I did get to experience and try from the new content. I'll also note that you can kind of skip this entire video and head on over to the One Stop Co-op Shop, who has a video who almost identically mirrors my thoughts on this expansion. I think part of it is the nature of just having a very specific limited subset of the game with also a tight timeline means we kind of were able to dive into the game in the same way and walked away with very similar impressions of what we did and didn't like from the new content. Now again, for full breakdown of everything, Pandora's Rune is one part of the expansions. Hoplite Machus is a series of games at Hoplite Machus. It has the original Hoplite Machus from way back when, but the newest line has Hoplite Machus Victorum and Hoplite Machus Remastered. Over in this Pandora's Box campaign, there's going to be content for three things. There's going to be content for Hoplite Machus Remastered, of which I don't have any. It was not sent to me from Chipper Theory Games, so I can't comment on that at all. There's also content that will bring your Hoplite Machus Remastered heroes into Hoplite Machus Victorum, so you can utilize even more heroes and even more variety in your Victorum experience. Again, I don't have any of that. I can't comment on that at all. What I can comment is is the limited amount of stuff I do have from Hoplite Machus's Rune, from Pandora's Rune. Sorry, from Pandora's Rune, which is the expansion that's going to have the new content for Hoplite Machus Victorum specifically. And to that end, there's 5 things of which I've been able to experience some of them. First of all, there's going to be, and there are specific names to these. I don't remember all the names to them, but the first thing is going to have the idea that these scions further infiltrate your Hoplite Machus games. Meaning, effectively, you're going to have a bunch of scions in the game that in Hoplite Machus you're going through a series of adventures across multiple weeks, and you're eventually going to face off against the scion. One of the complaints that's present about Hoplite Machus, a complaint that I shared as well, is that most of the game is this long journey that you face, and then you get to these scion at the very end who have these very, very cool boss fights, but you kind of want the scion to have more of an impact over the course of the game, and for the most part they only have a single chip that will infiltrate the game, and usually you can get rid of that so it barely impacts your entire experience. You have this like long journey and a final boss fight. And so the first expansion is one that's going to introduce new cards that you can introduce to your decks. You're going to have the new cards from the scions. Each scion is going to have cards that go into the various decks you're facing off against. I don't know what the final count will be. I believe the GameFound campaign has been adding more and more, so that the more cards there are from each scion, the more of a likely presence they'll have across the course of your decks. For me, for them, the goal of this is to give you more of a scion presence over the course of your entire experience, and for me, so far, it's a letdown. So far. It's not bad. There's nothing bad with it. It just doesn't do what I wanted out of having the scions having more of an impact on the game state. To me, I want to feel that the scion you're facing off against actually has an impact and a presence, and right now, based on, I have not gone through all the cards again, there's so many scions, so many cards, the sampling what I have not gone through all of them. I specifically tried going through a few scenarios just for the sake of experiencing them and getting a sense of them, but the ones I've seen through so far, at least from what I've had, and plus I've read through the rest of them, they don't seem to have a large impact on the actual game state. They feel like they're additional random events. They're additional deathmatch events or arena events. They're additional things that are there, but it feels like variety for the sake of variety, and it doesn't feel like when you're facing off against the Hydra, it doesn't feel like the Hydra has a larger presence on the game state. So it's more content, which is not a bad thing, but I don't think for me it solves the problem of having the scions have an influence over the game, and if anything, it adds more setup as you have to shuffle them in without necessarily getting the payoff of feeling the variety of the Hydra facing off against you. And so, a limited amount of, I would say it doesn't solve the problem for me the way I would want the problem solved. Hoplite Machus Victorum is still a great game, but it doesn't solve that particular complaint, at least not for me. The second thing we'll have, which I did not have a chance to go through, unfortunately, is the new scions. There's going to be 3 new scions, I believe 3, there might be more added in the new game, in the new content, and one of them over here is Crumb Dub, which I've been sent over here. I've read through the rules, but I haven't played against them, so I can't really give you an opinion on it other than it looks fun. It looks fun so far, and like the scions in Hoplite Machus generally are very fun to go through. So I'm for additional content, but with the caveat that facing off against a scion is a very long journey, and so I have not been able to experience what the sign has to offer. In theory, I could have leveled up my character to go through a boss battle, but I didn't, so all I can say is it looks cool, and I can't really tell you more about than that. The third module they're going to have is something that I am very much a fan of, and that's going to be these double-sided arenas. These are new arena cards that are given to me for the game, and these are going to effectively have your standard arena you're facing off against, these giant playmats that you're facing off every time you go through a battle in Hop-A-Mock as you're wandering from location to location, from region to region. But now, when you have that specific encounter, that specific arena, if I can find it over here, when you have that specific arena you're facing off against, every single time you journey around, you will flip the arena and have the other encounter with slightly different rules. Basically, in Hop-A-Mock Victorum, you're going on an adventure, and one of the problems the game has is even though there are 8 different arenas giving you 8 different kind of struggles or challenges to face off, which is great, generally you're traveling from region to region in a way that you'll be facing off in the same arena for 5 or 6 battles in a row, and that makes it a degree of staleness as you go through 5 or 6 of the same battle. Move to a new location, 5 to 6 of the same battle. And so it gives you variety, but it doesn't give you variety fight to fight, but rather across the whole experience, so there's still a degree of repetitiveness to the experience. The way they've solved that is by making each arena double-sided, and every time you face off an arena, you flip to the next one, which to me does 2 things. First of all, it practically speaking doubles the amount of arena content you already have in Hop-A-Mock Victorum, which means until they had 8 arenas, now you functionally have 16. Sure, you only have 8 boards, but you functionally have 16 different sets of rules or modifications around it, so it doubles your arena content, which is, I mean, doubling is good, right? I'm pretty sure doubling is good. But then past that, and more importantly, the way it's structured is it's not just doubling is good, but rather it's doubling is good because it's doubling it and ensuring that every single fight is alternating, so you are feeling the variety to a much more significant degree. And again, I have not gone through a full campaign with this, but it seems to so far, I mean again, just going through a handful of games in a row and flipping the arenas, it seems to so far give it, not necessarily solve, but significantly improve that feeling of repetitiveness you have in Hop-A-Mock, so these double-sided arenas are absolutely excellent. The fourth thing so far is going to be the Primus event decks. The Primuses are now going to be given their own specific event deck. So rather than having the Primuses in the regular standard battles, you're going to be facing off against the Primus in their own lineups and their own event decks with their own adjustments to them, which to me is not necessarily a pro or a con. It's good, I like it, I'm fine with it, but I can't say I ever felt a strong complaint against the Primus battles in the original Hop-A-Mock Victorum. So for me, it's good. It's more of something that is good, but doesn't solve a problem because it wasn't a problem for me. So contrasted with this sign influence over the overarching campaign where it is a problem and for me it doesn't solve it, this is something good that I do like and it's more variety and I'm happy with it, but I never really had a problem with it in the original, so it's good. If you had a problem with the Primuses the way they were, if you like a little bit more structure to them, this is a good thing, and that's basically that. And then the last thing is something called Hop-A-Mock Quictorm, or there's actually, I think it's called Mercury's Boots, if I'm not mistaken. The office name at Chip Theory Games, fondly name it Hop-A-Mock Quictorm. And the idea of Hop-A-Mock Quictorm is it's going to give you a shorter challenge. It's going to give you a specific shorter challenge to the Hop-A-Mock experience. It takes your Hop-A-Mock Victorum full game and cuts it down ideally by half, giving you a faster way through it, accelerating your powers, accelerating what you get out of the experience, while giving you the same gameplay loop. Again, going through the entire thing over there would be a larger thing than I had time for, given getting this, a day before the campaign. So I've not been able to go through a full Quictorm campaign, but overall, Hop-A-Mock Quictorm is likely, just from what I've seen of it so far, is likely the way I would engage with the Hop-A-Mock experience. Specifically for me, Hop-A-Mock is a game that I very much enjoy, but the length of the campaign relative to the Cyan endgame, it just feels like it is a good experience ruined by a bit too much slog. The consolidation of everything all together, I think, I can't say for sure until I go through it properly, the consolidation of everything all together so far seems like it would make that overall a better experience. It's giving you more variety to the arenas, which is just a good thing and is going to make the whole campaign feel less like a slog. They are throwing in a various Cyan events that will go into your various decks, and combined with having a shorter campaign and having variety from the actual arenas you're facing off against is not necessarily a bad thing. I wish the events even just felt more like the Cyans, that it really felt like I was facing off against a structure or an arena or a world in which the Hydra was the actual Cyan at play, as opposed to looking through some of them. And by the way, to be very clear, for full transparency, not transparency, but so much full coverage, whatever, looking through some of the various events, some of them do feel like they give you the flavor of the Cyan, but the majority of them, at least the majority of what I have so far, don't. So the ones that feel like they give you the flavor of the sign, that's great. I want to face off in a world that feels impacted by the Hydra. I want to feel like the sign I pick has an overarching influence over the structure that I'm going through. So that's really the main letdown for me. Everything else is either neutral or good for me, and even that's not bad. Even the sign adjustments aren't bad. It just doesn't necessarily solve the problem for me, at least not based on what I've seen so far. And so that's kind of where we are with Hoplomachus, with Pandora's Rune, one of the expansions in the Pandora's Box series of expansions. Where I kind of am with this is, it's mostly good stuff, but I think the thing I wanted the most was that overarching sign influence. I mean, the arenas are very cool. The flipping arenas are very cool. Props for that. But I think the thing I wanted the most is the solution of feeling the sign's overarching presence in the world. And at least from what I'm seeing so far, it feels like a halfway solve to the problem that doesn't fully address my concerns. I will say, to Chip Theory's credit, they very often do treat their crowdfunding campaigns like a actual part of the process, where an actual journey that they're on with you. So it's very possible that this is something that they're going to continue to look into, continue to add. I don't know what the final game is going to be like. Very much please consider this a first impressions of a prototype addition to the Hoplomachus universe, and do not consider this a final review. At least, I mean, it's not a final review. It's a prototype first impressions of what they have so far. In any case, then until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.